fighting fronts. If you look back into the history of aviation, starting 1950s, whole of aviation industry was busy making extreme class of fighters which were required to take off with highest rate of climb to intercept high altitude bombers. Moment we talk of speed touching 2 Mach or twice the speed of sound, it needed a simple lightweight design to cater for high speed interceptions. During that period and era, aircraft like the F-104 Starfighter, MiG-21, English Electric Lightning, and few others were born, which broke many world records. The YF-104 was the first aircraft to reach speeds touching 2,259 kilometers and, in another record, climbed to an altitude of 91,243 feet, both in year 1958. The Starfighter aircraft was marketed by Lockheed as the missile with a man in it. The nicknames most commonly used for the MiG-21 was the pencil and rocket, where it looked as if wings were slapped on a rocket. The aircraft had capabilities to fly over twice the speed of sound. The English Electric Lightning aircraft, with exceptional rate of climb, ceiling height and speed, was called a skyrocket by many pilots. The Lightning was developed to bring the RAF into the supersonic age, and this aircraft was also able to fly at Mach 2. So the period from 1950s till around 1980s was full of incredible leap forward in military aviation performance and technology, with many tough challenges that resulted into induction of various upgrades and modifications. An aircraft like the MiG-21, which was operated by over 60 countries, had more than 20 versions developed under 4 different generations, apart from the Chinese MiG-21 copies named J7 or the F7. The fastest advances in military aviation also resulted in many aircraft crashes due to various reasons. In majority of the cases, the pilot error can't be blamed as 100%, as in reality, these machines flew faster and had low margin of error. In the case of MiG-21, which was initially designed just for the fastest interception, Indian Air Force ended using this aircraft for every type of role. As per available data, the accident rate of MiG-21 was much lower as compared to Starfighter and the English Electric Lightning aircraft. Many will be surprised to note that F-104 Starfighter was named as Germany's widow maker, because between 1968 till 1972, 15 to 20 aircraft crashed every year, and it continued at a rate of about losing 10 Starfighters every year. The German Air Force lost around 292 of the 916 Starfighters and caused death of 115 pilots. The main issues as cause of accidents were 2. Firstly, the landing speeds were much higher than the earlier jets, especially for an inexperienced pilot flying in seriously bad weather conditions. Secondly, the German Starfighters had to perform low-level high-speed attack missions, and in those kind of conditions, the aircraft was very sensitive to control inputs and extremely unforgiving to pilots' error. Even the Canadian Air Force lost 111 of the 238 Starfighters due to accidents or failures during its operational life. On the other hand, the pilots who flew English Electric Lightning aircraft described flying it as being saddled to a sky rocket. With this twin engine, this aircraft had such a great power-to-weight ratio that it could stand on its tail and exceed the speed of sound in a vertical climb. However, British RAF lost over 100 aircraft out of a total of nearly 300 Lightnings, mainly due to aerodynamic overloading, canopy separation, engine fire, hydraulic failure, and many other reasons, but still the craze to fly skyrocket remained for ages. When we talk of MiG-21 accidents, one has to look into four main reasons which pushed many pilots to their flying limits. In given hot Indian conditions, the sleek delta wing produced nearly 12% less lift and also the engine thrust by around same percentage. MiG-21s were initially inducted as pure interceptors, but later, with more hazardous, low-level close support role became a bit heavier. This reduced the amount of surplus power available to accelerate away from critical situations. The low aspect ratio or wingspan to chord ratio of 2.2 in case of MiG-21 makes this aircraft alpha sensitive. Also, when turning into finals or during a dogfight, high sustained turning, aircraft with high induced drag may lose height over ground when already flying low, and same can result into controlled flight into terrain. In aircraft like the MiG-21 FL, canopy left hinged in front with the ejection seat and formed a high-speed wind blast protector for the pilot. However, during a bird hit at low level or in an ejection during a takeoff, time for safe ejection and full deployment of parachute is paramount. Features like the MiG-21 FL took a long time to get rid of the canopy and deployment of parachute. In today's modern fighter, the canopy gets shattered with devices like the miniature detonating cord, and ejection seat goes through the canopy, saving a lot of time. In 1960s, the MiG-21s were brought at a price of 47 lakh rupees per aircraft. Today, on Indian roads, we see more expensive cars than a MiG-21 fighter. So in reality, we remain dependent and stretched this single workhorse for decades, which at some point of time touched maximum strength of 24 squadrons, pushing highest number of flying hours. In absence of any other aircraft, MiG-21 versions kept changing, including a major upgrade as Bison, just because of delayed induction of light combat aircraft. New aircraft induction means a huge amount of expenditure, which is directly linked to the national security and, more importantly, the political will. In just last few years, with the induction of many advanced aerial platforms, political will has really demonstrated what they understand about the importance of national security and the value of trained military pilots. The last sentence of mine, which talks about the value of human life and appreciation of costly military hardware, can be understood better if you hear Air Cmde SS Tyagi, who in fact has the world record of highest number of flying hours on the MiG-21 aircraft. And if you have missed to see a full-fledged film on the world's most produced supersonic MiG-21 fighter, you must watch my previous video. The link of same is placed below. Jai Hind.
Another aspect which I really would like to talk about is the term which has been coined by some ignorant, senseless people, calling MiG-21 a flying coffin. Now they really have no idea. We can have the statistics of any kind. We can say that so many aircraft have crashed, but we are talking a period which stretches over 65, 66 years, which is a very long time. More than that, we must also remember that at one point in time, there were nearly 24 squadrons in the Indian Air Force. Of nearly 32 were flying MiG-21s. The pilot used to be young. They used to come from training command straight to the squadron from 500 kilometers, the max speed they had flown to fly an aircraft which was over 2,200 kilometers. And so it was difficult, and that's how they used to come. Initial lot were better off because initially we used to first be experienced on Mistiers or Hunters or Nats or Maruts, and then only change over to Su-7s or MiG-21s. Anyway, the fact that this name is given, I just want to say 2-3 points. One is, it's unfair to call an aircraft whatever it's been called. No aircraft any system, the aircraft fails unless there are other factors which are involved, more technical or the pilot error. Second, which is another factor which nobody is ever bothered, and this factor is that actually when in the beginning we were flying this aircraft, certainly in 60s somebody got a bright idea in Air Headquarters to say that if we write the cost of aircraft on the wing, pilots will become very conscious, they'll realize this is a very expensive machine they're flying, and they probably will be more careful. Unfortunately, they didn't realize that Indian pilot is a soldier. He is not a professional which we are today, but those days we were only soldier and only thinking of national assets, how we can save them, what the cost. Didn't realize that when we compare the cost of training a pilot and replacing a pilot, it takes 5 years and nearly as much cost as the aircraft. But that time one didn't realize aircraft could be replaced, pilot couldn't be. And I give you a small example, what used to happen when we were thinking. And by large aircraft we lost during bird strikes at low level. At that time we had just started flying low. This was a new phase and we initiated this. And country, everyone was throwing all kind of muck all over, birds were flying all over. And when you had a bird hit, if it hit any other part other than the intake, then there was not much of problem. Pilots, in spite of serious damages, always recovered the aircraft, or most time recovered the aircraft. But when it went to the intake and engine flamed out, the drill was very straightforward. Pull up, go to the safe height, and thereafter eject. But when I was doing external check, I used to see this written on the nose, this aircraft cost 47 lakhs. The car from the showroom used to cost 10,000. So I used to always say, my God, my pay was 1,000 rupees. So you can't imagine losing an aircraft was 47 lakhs. This was always playing in the mind of the pilot who was flying it. So what we used to do, when you pulled up, thereafter you attempted a relight take 45 seconds. By this time aircraft was losing height, and finally it came to height when you decided to eject. Either you went into the ground with the aircraft or you ejected so low, shoot into open, and you crashed and died. This is how we used to have these fatal accidents of bird strike at that point in time. Now nobody actually bothered. Now to blame the aircraft for this is very unfair, because the factor of bird is not with the aircraft. The pilot dying had nothing to do with the aircraft. It was mainly that as an Indian soldier, Indian pilot, I always felt that I cannot afford to lose, and let me try and save it, which we took many years, decades to inculcate this sense in the pilots, to say, okay, when you get a bird hit in the intake, this aircraft will never relight because the turbines get damaged, so please pull up and eject and come back safe. And now you find that most accidents of this kind we at least have the pilots safe. So to blame aircraft and call it flying coffin is, I think, very unfair. Very unfortunate. People who do it are the most ignorant people. They don't even realize that the people are still flying, the pilots are still flying. They are also children of some parents. They are also soldiers of the air warriors of the Indian Air Force. And all those who are flying this aircraft, I wish you all the very best. Don't ever think, take appropriate action, and you'll always be safe. All the very best. Jai Hind.